On the 24th of February, 2022, the world woke up to a grim reality. Seemingly out of nowhere, Russia had more or less declared war on Ukraine and was throwing all its weight into invading it like there was no tomorrow. Did this actually come out of nowhere? Here's the answer to why Russia is invading Ukraine, both the biased and unbiased version. A small history lesson is in order for the following events to make sense. So, Russia and Ukraine, contrary to some people's beliefs, aren't the same country. They're two countries that border each other in Eastern Europe. In fact, after Russia, it's Europe's second largest country. When Russian President Vladimir Putin declared one of the biggest wars in Europe since World War II, he did so with one of the following justifications. Russia doesn't feel it's safe, nor does it feel like it can develop and exist in harmony with Western-leaning Ukraine. Believe it or not, the turmoil between Russia and Ukraine has been brewing for centuries. Several times the fighting spilled over. The two countries' toxic relationship spans over 1300 years. Both belong to Kievan Rus, a medieval kingdom founded in the 800s by a group of Vikings. In 1240, Mongol armies came in and conquered Kievan Rus and split it up. Kiev then became a Commonwealth region that stretched across modern Ukraine and Poland, while Moscow served as a local capital for the Mongol Empire. Skip forward hundreds of years and past the World Wars and to 1991 to the collapse of the Soviet Union. Russia and Ukraine were both part of it, and they became independent countries, something that Putin protests. Another skip forward in history to 2013. Viktor Yanukovych, Ukraine's president, was loyal to Russia. He was eventually ousted from office, and a government that favored Russia less was elected. The next jump in history is smaller, 2014. The conflict spilled over. Russia took Crimea, an area in southern Ukraine. It also sent soldiers to eastern Ukraine and backed a separatist movement in Donetsk and Luhansk. The death toll of this conflict was no less than 14,000. That brings us on to February 2022. What made Russia decide to launch an all-out invasion? According to Putin, here's the reason. He justifies the invasion as Ukrainians and Russians being one people. Or, to clarify, he claims that Russia is more like Ukraine's older sibling, who should be the one calling the shots, such as whether or not Ukraine can actually join NATO. When he first launched the attack, Putin said he wanted to, quote, demilitarize and denazify Ukraine, end quote. Now, that's an interesting choice of words, denazify. He also claimed he wanted to protect against genocide conducted by the Ukrainian government. He also doesn't technically call it a war or even an invasion. Instead, Putin says that his actions are a, quote, special military operation, end quote. That's what Putin says, but there has to be other reasons. So what are they? An invasion, or at least something was on the horizon. Governments have known that since 2021. That December, US intelligence found out that Russia had plans to deploy 175,000 troops near the Ukrainian border. Their estimates for an invasion? Early 2022. Kiev has also been calling out, saying that Moscow has moved more than 90,000 troops near their border. Their estimate for a large-scale escalation? January 2022. Meanwhile, Moscow denied the presence of troops in eastern Ukraine. This could be traced back to the NATO thing we said earlier. Ukraine has long expressed its desire to be further aligned with Western countries. NATO, which is a military alliance featuring 28 European countries and 2 North American countries, was formed after the World Wars as a part to avoid Soviet expansion. Its goal is to keep the peace in the North Atlantic area. Ukraine is one of the few countries in Eastern Europe that isn't a member. When push came to shove in 2014, with the ousting of Ukraine's then Russian-aligned president, the 2015 Minsk II agreement was made. Brokered by France and Germany, this peace accord featured a 13-point agreement that guaranteed Ukraine control of its borders with Russia, along with the autonomy for separatist regions among several items. Said agreements isn't exactly being honored by Russia at the moment. According to Bradley Bowman, the senior director of the Center on Military and Political Power at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, which is a non-partisan research institute that focuses on national security and foreign policy, part of the reason why Russia is invading Ukraine, even if it doesn't call it that, is that Putin, quote, has an eye on history. He's getting older. He is mindful of how he's going to look in the history books, and he sees himself as kind of a neo-Tsar who would like to reconstitute as much of the Soviet Union as possible, end quote. Anyone who's kept up with Putin knows that his feelings about the Soviet Union aren't exactly aligned with the rest of the world. He sees its collapse as a disaster, and he dislikes NATO. A plethora of things also push Russia to act now. Some believe that it's a matter of timing and resources. At the moment, Russia possesses $600 billion in foreign currency reserves. Putin is believed to believe that the West, the Biden administration in particular, is weak at the moment. With current Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's lack of political experience, as well as the effect of the coronavirus pandemic, could have played a role in providing what's called a perfect storm that led to the invasion. That's all for now on why Russia is invading Ukraine, but what is your theory? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click the like button and the notification bell so that you'll hear that little ding whenever we upload a new video. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.